Welcome to Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and a dash of hope collide nightly like a Trevor Story strikeout. We cover every loss, every meltdown, and yes, even the rare win, with brutally honest takes and zero front office fluff. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com or risk being left out in the cold like a home game in April. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I'm your host, Jim Dalfino. Yep, it's me again, because when your franchise invents new ways to implode weekly, someone's got to narrate the misery, and apparently I drew the shortest straw. Hosting this is like hiring Alex Cora to babysit your house full of sleeping babies. It sounds promising, but it ends in chaos. Joining me tonight is the immortal Nick Face. No, that is not a typo. Face, because putting in John Smith would at least suggest some sort of effort. He's the human equivalent of that awkward Facebook friend request you ignore, persistent, loud, and you're pretty sure you don't even know him. And also joining tonight is Thayer Doyle, a name so great and pretentious it sounds like it belongs on a whiskey bottle your uncle pretends he knows how to pronounce. Now on to the real comedy, today's game. Spoiler alert, it wasn't comedy relief. It was a full-blown clown show. Let's get into it. Dustin May actually opened with sauce, sat Gunnar Henderson down looking in the first, and strutted off like a cowboy who found a strike zone at high noon. Then in the third arrived, and Henderson returned the favor with a 414-foot center-cut souvenir, from frozen to thawed and launched in 2 innings. Fenway physics, my Twitter friends. Rookie Samuel Basallo ripped his first career extra base hit. Welcome to the show, kid. And Dylan Beavers immediately cashed him in with a center field knock. 2-zip visitors, and the Sox bats were still doing a very convincing mime routine. Through 6, Dustin May, 6 innings, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks, and 100 pitches. That's a keep us in it start. The offense replied, no. 7th inning, bullpen door opens, and Gunnar Henderson triples in a run. Ryan Mountcastle singles in another right after, and it's 4-0 Baltimore, and a reminder that clean innings are not part of Boston's subscription plan. In the bottom of the 7th, Jarren Duran redeems Boston with a sacrifice fly that gives us a flicker of life and a run. 4-1. Meanwhile, the base runners cheer on as if you just found an extra fry in the bottom of the takeout bag. Fast forward to the 9th, Jordan Isaiah Campbell enjoyer Hicks comes in and quickly vomits on himself, allowing a 2-run single by Basallo to make it 6-1. And that's your final. Nick, you're going to be leading off today. I'm sure it's going to be our Nick Face word of the day. And here it is.
And now it's time for Nick Face's word of the day.
My word of the day today is Cora. Cora is my word of the day. Yes, your manager, Alex Cora. I'm going to lead off with this fantastic quote that was said prior to tonight's game to Ian Brown of MLB.com. He covers the Red Sox for the beat. Fasten your seatbelt, folks. You're really going to need this when you hear this, because if you haven't heard this yet, if you're driving right now, I strongly suggest pull over. I think Hicks, stuff-wise, is close to takeoff, to be honest with you. That's your manager of your Boston Red Sox. And we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem. It's comedy hour, guys. I don't get it. I don't know if he has to lie. I don't know if he really, truly believes this stuff that's coming out of his mouth. But as a fan, and somebody who follows this team, much like you guys here and everything, I find it irresponsible. I find it downright egregious and unacceptable. I don't get what value was said today from that quote. And then lo and behold, of course, you see the latest implosion from Mr. Hicks in the 9th inning here. Maybe if his 9th inning wasn't so bad here tonight, maybe we would have had a game in the 9th inning. But no, we lose 6-3, naturally. A couple other things. The Red Sox are now 9-7 in the month of August. Right around 500. Lo and behold, the exact same team we've seen since 2019. And what a surprise, isn't it, guys? The Ferris wheel just keeps on going, just keeps going and going and going. Right now, all three teams are tied for the 3 wild card spots. That's the Yankees, Mariners, and Red Sox. So right now, flip a coin. Flip a coin and what it's going to be. And then finally, tonight, this is the first back-to-back losses since June 2nd and 3rd at Fenway Park.
Wow. Thayer, your opening take.
I was just gonna say one more thing, and then I'll go to Thayer. I don't like to be right sometimes when I make my statements, but I'm gonna make sure my statement is loud and clear before we go to Thayer on what I said last night. I said the Baltimore Orioles will sweep and take 2 games from the Red Sox. I don't like to be right on these situations. I like myself to be thrown on a TV screen in the Red Sox clubhouse, them pointing at me saying, "What an imbecile, what an idiot, look at him, ha ha ha, he thinks we suck." Well, you do.
Thayer, your opening takes.
Welcome to adolescence. We've been talking about it for quite a while. What do we have here? We have a team that is young, that is relatively inexperienced, especially in playoff battles or down the stretch sort of battles. And you also have some professionals who are not necessarily really major league ball players. And it's a roster configuration issue, and that's what you're seeing. You got a game today. Ultimately, Rogers pitched beautifully. This is a game that you know you're going to lose. You should lose this game. When he pitches that well, you lose. You tip your cap. The problem is it's the way the Red Sox are losing. This should have been a game you lost 2-0, maybe 2-1. Okay, we get through it. But instead, in 6-3, what you see is instead of a competitive ball club that got beaten by a professional pitcher who's on his game, you have a 3A, 4A ball club that's sort of middle of the road, a 500 ball club like Nick has been talking about, who does this sort of stuff. Your starting pitcher, May, did well. In the grand scheme of the game today, he kept them in the game. If you're playing against a real ball club, when you give up 10 runners in 6 innings and you have as many sort of 3-1, 3-2 counts that he does, he's going to get punished. But we can only talk about what he did today. 2 runs through 6 innings, a very nice job. Tip your cap to him for that. The problem is, and this is what we saw on Saturday when they have to bring in Campbell, and then they waste Chapman, and then who do you have closing the game? You have Weissert closing your game. Today, when they go to the bullpen, open up the door, here come the gutless bums, Moran, and then you give up 2 more runs. So a game that should have been 2-1 because you have professional relievers coming out of your bullpen, you don't. Now it becomes 4-0, and then 4-1. Oh, chipping on, and you bring in Hicks, and it's 6-1. That's the issue with this team, that they do not have tried and true professionals. And yes, you tip your cap to the lefty. Tip your cap to Trevor's, to Rogers. He pitched beautifully, but at the same time, he's pitching against Eaton. He's pitching against Gonzalez. He's pitching against Toro. He's pitching against guys who were good 3 months ago. Now it's 3 months later in the season. Guys who are not used to playing every day are now starting to wear down. Offensively, they're struggling. They are not putting up competitive at bats, and you're in trouble. And you have, and I know we're going to get to him in a little while, you have Rafaela, who was carrying you earlier as your right-handed bat, and Navarez, who was carrying you as your right-handed bat. Navarez is worn out. He's got nothing left. He's not going to be the same guy to rely on. And Rafael is a kid who's struggling, and that's going to happen. And that's where we're at. And that is ultimately my biggest concern as we go down the stretch, is their inability to provide sustainable reserves and roster configuration that is going to help get this team into the playoffs.
Yeah, excellent points. What does that say? Hey, it's not coming through, Nick. It's hard to read it.
See it now. All aboard. The Red Sox clown car is here. Everybody step in. Take a little ride. Take a ride. Step right in. This is your little car, little clown car. Alex Cora is right there. Drive it in the seat. Okay, there it goes. Vroom, 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 vroom. Off to Worcester.
So I'm not going to be very positive tonight, but I am going to start with one positive thing, and that was the start by Dustin May. 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. He did give up the home run, but it was his second quality start since joining the Red Sox. There, take me through. Do you think that we can kind of rely on Dustin May for the rest of this season?
I'm gonna say we can rely on him to, and I apologize, Nick. I know I'm gonna hurt your feelings here for a minute. He reminds me a lot of Nick Pivetta. The man has guts. I will give him that. He battles through his outings. He didn't have great stuff today, but he got through what he needed to get through. I think he's a talented enough human being with that right arm of his to get out most major league hitters and most major league lineups to go through even without his best stuff. If he doesn't have his best stuff, the top tier offenses are going to pound him because he gets behind. And when he gets behind, he doesn't have the quality stuff to get people out on a regular basis. But when he is on his A game, he is very capable of doing stuff. But I have to say, today, the one thing I took out of this is that he didn't crumble. And that's a tribute to his character and his resilience. This was a game, especially in that first inning, he really could have given up the ship the way it was going, but he came out and got it done. He had guys on base all the time, but managed to get out of it. I know I joked when he gave up that home run. At least it was a solo shot, because if he had given that up in one of the first 2 innings, this game was over early. So I think May is going to be someone that we can rely on to give you 5, 6 innings. He throws too many pitches to really go deep into games, but I think he's a guy that's going to probably keep us in most ball games. I still think ultimately he is going to be best served in whether it's with the Red Sox or not, somewhere down the stretch. His career path is going to be a 7th, 8th inning guy who's going to be able to come in and slam the door for most sort of playoff driven ball clubs.
Yeah, I agree. A team that has him in the bullpen and is a World Series threat, that's a good place for him to be. The part that worries me the most is that Red Sox management is going to come back to the fans and say, "See, we didn't get Joe Ryan, but look how well Dustin May did." And that's the one thing that is a good and a bad. Nick, really quickly, your thoughts on Dustin May?
I actually don't mind at all, Thayer, on what you said. I think he is like a Nick Pivetta. I think he pitched fine tonight. He is my number 4 starter. And if my number 4 starter gives me 3 runs or less to give me a quality start every time out, sign me up. I had no issue whatsoever with Dustin May tonight. He walked a tightrope a little early on, but he did work himself out of jams, and he did only give up the solo shot. If it was more than that, I think you would have been hearing me quite often during this game. But I didn't say much on him. I wasn't sure. I was totally fine with that. Now, when it comes to can I count on him, that is where I can't make my mind up right now. And back to the Nick Pivetta comparison. For the 5 years that we had him, or 4 years, whatever it was, I never fully had trust in Nick Pivetta because I never knew what I was going to get. At one point, I do remember I had the most confidence with Pivetta when he started in the bullpen, and
Hmm.
he came in the second, third inning, and he figured out his role, because his first inning he would implode, and then
Penn
the Red Sox. Pinvetta is great. It's exactly there's my other word of the day, Pinvetta. There you go. Not a pinata, Pinvetta. But when he was coming out of the pen after that first inning, he felt like a whole different guy. And I still feel, much like you do, Thayer, I like Dustin May 6 or 7. I still feel over the long haul, that is where his role will likely be. But you need him in this spot right now. If he can take that 4 and solidify that, then your biggest wild card in your rotation, who goes tomorrow, Walker Buehler, throws. And if you're going to ask me if I have more confidence in May than Bueller, I'm going to tell you May right now, because tomorrow I know we're going up against the trash heap of Baltimore tomorrow with our pitcher that's going. Guys, we don't have an offense. So where's it coming from? That's where I'm most frustrated with. I get the gutless bums that are in the bullpen that can't get it done. We do have some good pieces, and I'm sure we're going to get into this shortly. But it's this offense that I can't stand for the life of me right now. And you want to win big games? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? No one's doing anything right now.
Well, that brings up a really good point, Nick, because you're not scoring runs the way you should. They come in bunches. There isn't any consistency. And so, what's the first thing that you should do when that happens? You bring up Nate Eaton because, of course, you need to have that guy in your lineup. And since you had him batting leadoff before he was optioned to AAA because he's not good enough, you put him as your DH and you lead him off in tonight's game, which I mean, I think the average Red Sox fan who wasn't drinking tonight probably had a few before this game when they saw that lineup card come out. This is absolutely ridiculous. And you're moving Roman Anthony to a number 2 spot after, and I tweeted this today, Alex Cora saying that Roman Anthony is going to be our leadoff hitter for the remainder of the season. Well, that ended pretty damn quickly, apparently, because obviously, when you bring up a talent like Nate Eaton, you got to lead him off and you got to have him as your DH. The most ridiculous thing I ever see with this lineup. Have we even had, seriously, how many times have the Red Sox put out the same lineup more than once this season? Because I don't know. I bet you I'd love to know what that stat is. If anybody can give it in the comments, because I don't even know if there's more than 2 or 3. It's been that alarming all season long. That said, I want to parlay this into Ceddanne Rafaela's slump since second. 4 for his last 19, and I have some statistics for you for some coffee table talk. So, as a center fielder, Don Rafaela is batting 277 with an OPS of 803. 277 with an OPS of 803. As a second baseman, he's batting 136 with an OPS of 325. I've made this comment before, Nick, many times on the podcast and in my tweets and even in Twitter Spaces. When you start moving guys around and they got to start thinking about how to run and operate different positions, something's going to give and something's going to suffer. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right, but Jim, your buddy Yoshida's going to be in the lineup. What else are you going to do? You're stuck. Marcelo Meyer going down puts you in a hole. Romy Gonzalez, in my opinion, is much better to play at first base. And Abraham Toro is still somehow on this roster. Now you have Nate Eaton, Nathaniel Lowe, and now you got to figure this whole thing out. Guys, this is just a bunch of roster mismanagement starting from the top, and it's a joke. They all play a million different positions, some of them not very well, and it's a Russian roulette wheel to figure out who is going to go down the drop zone tonight and not make a million errors. And Rafaela is stuck right now playing second base. I don't like it. I've said that repeatedly here. He is the center fielder for this team. I don't know what else you can do on this outside of maybe saying, "Hey, Jaron Durand, you played this position in college. Move it on over to there." That's all I can say on that. But this is what you got, and it's not fun. It's not comfortable. It's a big bag of mismatch every night. There is zero consistency whatsoever. And that's one of the big things that I think hurts this team quite a bit. You don't know what their lineup's going to be every night. You don't know who's going to be playing what position. You can pretty much guarantee it's Story at short, Bregman at third if Cora doesn't want to give him a boo-boo day off. flip a coin where Duran or Rafaela or if Wilyer Abreu is ever going to go in the lineup again. I think he could still be in the lineup, but they're babying that hamstring thing going on. It's a joke. This is a professional major league team that is playing again like the Tampa Rays, thinking they don't have any money and they can't sort out all their issues and figure it out and get quality major league players. It's a mess. It's just a mash unit. That's the best description I can give you. It's a mash unit.
Thayer, your reactions to the Cedon Rafaela splits.
I've had a problem with it since last year when he went to shortstop. I know you and I talked a lot about it, that especially young kids, you cannot have them adjust to playing two of the most difficult positions in baseball and still expect them to produce offense. You made him the center fielder this year. He was doing well. He was showing signs. He was coming, out of those offensive doldrums we saw last year because he was comfortable. He focused on his hitting. We move him to second base. You see it coming again. There is just a different thought process and a different level of anxiety that goes into it. These are human beings. When you are forcing them to do things that are uncomfortable, they react in different ways. And that's the issue that we have seen with this team for a long time. There are very few young players who are excellent, we'll say utility men. You know, when you think about the utility men in the history of baseball, you have Tony Phillips,
Tony
you
Phil.
have Ben Zobrist, you have Pete Rose, you have guys of that ilk. Luis Alicea. Granted, he wasn't an offensive machine like those others, but those are people that were later in their career that established themselves offensively, that knew how to handle pitching in the major leagues, and then could develop their own skills in different positions. Even Brock Holt, and I know it's sacrilege to put him in those sort of names, but he had to develop himself offensively first and then started to get into those positions. And it wasn't until he came with the Red Sox. And I know we loved him as the Red Sox, but I still think he was probably one of the worst things to happen to Boston, because now they think that we can put people like this into our roster and have all these moving pieces and mix and match. And you have this guy play this situation. That is such a mid-market philosophy. It's the analytical philosophy that's going on. It doesn't take into account the mental aspect of this game.
It doesn't.
You
It
know,
doesn't. It doesn't at all. And that's
I'm glad you brought up Brock Holt because that's exactly what I think is the Achilles heel to this team. I think Cora thinks that every player that he has can be Brock Holt, and they can't. They can't. He was a very special player that they had that could do a lot of things for this team well. But they're not. It's not happening. It's not happening here. So we need to move on
but
and
even
figure
if
it
you
out.
look at Brock Holt, and sorry, Jim, real quick, he had other people around him. There was Betts, there was Bogarts, there was Jackie Bradley that started to come up. Benintendi was around still at that time. You had quality ball players. So when he was filling in, he was giving guys days off, and he did the Tony Phillips thing. He would go in and spell guys who played every day, who were not only offensively, but defensive wizards, and did what he had to do. And he had the ability to go in and around, not be the person that everybody relied on to provide offense. And that's what they're doing. They're relying on these people. You know, the Toros, we talk, oh, he saved our season. And yes, they came in, and we've had that done in past years where guys come in and, Daniel Navas and Troy O'Leary's, and they come in and they save you for a few months, but then they get exposed because that's who they are. The problem with this managerial front office is they're saying, "Oh, we've got him. Let's keep him going," and they can't. They have to move him in. They have to mix and match. They have to do stuff, and they're just not.
This reminds me a lot of 2013. I brought this up a million times if I brought it up once. I said that the 2013 World Series championship was the worst thing that happened to the Red Sox. And the reason why I said that is because they always think they're the smartest person in the room, and they've come up with some new, exciting crackerjack box way of running and operating their team. So the 2013 team was brought in with, don't get me wrong, a bunch of professionals, but they were guys on the second half of their career, and they were guys that were professionals, but they were not superstars anymore. And again, I'm talking the Mike Napoli's of the world, the Shane Victorinos, the Mike Carps, all those guys. And they were important and they were great on that team. And I'm taking nothing away from it. I'm talking about what the lesson they learned from that was to say, hey, we don't need to spend money anymore. We can go bring in the next group of guys on the wrong side of 30 who are trying to hold on to their careers, but are still good enough to put a lineup card together. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, again, it seems like they're doing a similar situation here. Let's get a bunch of guys that can play all over the place and be able to sub in here and there. But to Thayer's point, they don't take in the mental capacity of that. I brought this up on a Twitter space a couple years ago, and I think it was right in the beginning of the 23 season. Anyway, it had to do with Kike Hernandez. And when Trevor Story was down and Kike Hernandez's name was floating around as being the possible shortstop, I was against it. I said, look, the guy was basically an all-star caliber defensive center fielder in 21 and so forth, and leave him out there. And everybody he railroaded the hell out of me and said, no, no, no. And I said, and my main point is that keep guys in a position to succeed. Keep them in a position where they are good and they will succeed in the positions that they are in. And when you start doing what they're doing this season, it's not gonna last. One day Gonzalez is your second baseman, the next day he's your first. Mayer's at third, he's at short, he's at second. And, Rafael is at second, he's at short, he's in center. Duran's in center, he's in left. I mean, you can't keep doing this over and over and over again and expect these guys to just be able to overcome it. You brought up Tony Phillips. I think there was a couple seasons he played, you know, every position but pitcher. I mean, I think he even caught too. So yeah, it's really something that this team needs to uh, reevaluate and make changes. That being said, I just kind of want to move on a little bit with my box of chocolates thing, and I want to go into the bullpen really quickly. Just 30 seconds on this. Hicks and the moron. Um, Nick, your reactions to this. Brennan Bernardino, who has been a reliable guy in this bullpen for a number of years now, was having a really good season. Outside of the fact they want to give him a break, please explain to me why he's not on this roster.
I'm going to go on a hinge here, and I'm going to say that Bernardino told Alex Cora to go fly a kite, if you know what that means politely, and the entire major league staff, and he got shipped to Worcester because he wasn't happy that they brought in Steven Matz. I'm going to go on a hinge. I have zero knowledge if anything happened here from it, but I have to chalk this up to him being punished right now. I really, truly feel that that's what's going on. The organization has said this is not how a professional player takes a demotion and see you later, you're done. I think that's likely what's going on, and no one's saying anything because they've had a handful of opportunities since the trade deadline to bring him back, and they haven't. He's been the moron comes up tonight, Moran. We've had Isaiah Campbell. We've had Chris Murphy obviously took the slot from him initially. Uh, who knows? But that's what my gut reaction is telling me here. Why Cooper Criswell is not here? I don't understand that one. That's the one that really irritates me the most because he could be filling in that long relief role pretty perfectly right now. And I think we'd all be happy with that, and it would eliminate having to see the Hicks, the Campbells, the Russian roulette wheel spin. Who's going to be tonight? Who's going down the drop zone? So that's my take on it. You can light me up all you want, Twitter land. I don't really care. That's what I feel, and you can't tell me otherwise right now. Because if it's truly a talent thing or him just being left-handed, somebody's lying. So something's going on down there, or with Bernardino.
Teams have scored 11 out of his 26 outings so far in 2025. So, I mean, 50 almost 50% of the time, he's gonna be giving up some sort of runs. Moving right along, Thayer, I want to get your take on the Nathaniel Lowe signing. He joins the Red Sox as a low risk, high upside first baseman with a gold glove, a World Series ring, and just enough pop to make fans forget that Bobby Dahlbeck ever existed. Take me through your thoughts on Nathaniel Lowe, and do you think this was a good move or just a move because he was free?
I think it's a move that's free, but at the same time, I think it's a good move. Abraham Toro, thank you very much for your service. What you did in June, you did help our ball club. But right now, you're a liability. You are not a every I'm not even gonna say a platoon major league ball player. Your time is spent. It's time to go. Bring in Low. He can at least defensively play the position, which is something we have lacked for a very long time. He will probably still platoon with Romy at first base. They'll do the righty lefty thing. I think it'll be better off for our infield. I know Stan the Man just said, that it'll save a ton of errors. I think defensively, the first base position has been really overlooked by the Red Sox. I think it'll make things better all around. Bregman and Story are fine, but I think whoever's playing second base, having someone at that first base position will help them. Also, it's going to help the pitchers because what we've seen an awful lot this year is that inexperienced first baseman going too far to his right. And when he goes too far to his right, that causes issues at the bag with people covering and just all those little things that aren't really happening the way they should. So having someone who's an actual professional first baseman will help. I hope offensively he helps. If he gets hot, I think he just the natural power of Low provides more of a threat than does Toro. So I think eventually, if nothing else, even if he's not starting, just knowing you have a professional left-hander off the bat who could run into one and hit it a long way will benefit the Red Sox moving forward.
Nick, your thoughts really quick.
I was just really surprised that he fell to the Red Sox because doesn't he have to pass through a bunch of waivers to get to the Red Sox? So I'm surprised the team didn't just put a claim in and block
They
him
had to
from the
pay him.
Red Sox.
If
I
someone
am.
put a
That
claim in,
was
they would have had to pay them. So that's how it works. Once he gets through,
so
and
that
he
that
gets to
that
pick who he
so that
wants to go
yeah,
to.
that's a good point. So, well, we're fortunate we have a proven major league player. That's something that we can't really say on this roster. When this officially came out, I kept saying why, but I've kind of warmed up to it a little bit more because I've been big on the Christian Campbell getting another opportunity or getting Mr. Garcia, Mr. Password, an opportunity. But I get the fact that those guys still, Christian Campbell's a rookie. Password's never come up to the major leagues. They don't have a proven track record. It could be another one of these kids coming up in big time pressure, and the pressure could get to them, and then their whole entire career could go down the drain. And I don't want to see that right now. So I think we give this a chance because the rosters do expand come September 1st. So I was pretty vocal and saying that I think this was kind of a waste in a way last night. I've come to a middle ground here with it, and I want to give it a chance and see what happens here. But to expect him to turn it around very quickly and make the adjustments to get back to being, the World Series Nathaniel Lowe is slim pickings to me on that. But if he can find something, if anything, be a steady force at first base to be a glove, that's very important because I still hold my breath with Romy and Toro at first base currently with what's going to happen over there.
We'll go
So
back in the
let's
day
see
for
what
this one.
happens.
Ready, Jim? He's gonna be Rico Brogna.
Mhm.
a guy
Yep.
that came in is
I
gonna
remember
play some
Rico
nice
Brogna.
defense.
I
He's
do
probably
remember
not
him.
gonna hit his weight, but from a defensive standpoint, he did solidify the in
Who was the guy that we had from the Braves that we had for like a minute? It was like for a week, and then he got traded again. It was
No,
Adam
wait.
LaRoche. Remember him? He was here for a week, and then we traded him off. I think he came from the Nationals, and then he got traded to the Braves. I can't remember. Was it Casey Kochman that we got in
we might
return for
have
him? Okay. I think that was 2010, 9, something around there. But maybe an Adam LaRoche could be a comparison of sorts. If he is an Adam LaRoche, I'll be
Yeah,
happy with
not that he
that.
doesn't have the power of Carlos, what's his last name, Thayer, that, from the Tampa Bay that we had for a short period of time. It was
Pena.
and yeah, yeah,
Pena,
was
Carlos
another one.
Pena.
A couple things to chew on. So, Nathaniel Lowe becomes the first Gold Glove first baseman that will play for the Red Sox since 2020 from a guy named Mitchie Two Bags. Since then, we've had at first base Bobby Dahlbach, Bobby Dahlback, Bobby Dahlback, Franchi Cordero, Eric Hosmer, Tristan Casas, Bobby Dahlback, Tristan Casas, Romy Gonzalez, Abraham Toro, Nick Sogard, Ryan Noda, and now Lowe. Pretty good company, if you ask me.
Ryan Noda.
I want to get into, we got a couple chats here. Let's see what we got coming on. Anybody that's got some great ones. Let's go with Andrew the Goat. Awful game by the Red Sox tonight at home. Can't lose games at home, Andrew. Just can't do it. This team isn't good enough on the road to be able to sustain any kind of losses on at home. It just can't do it. Charlie Midnight, who is a good follower. I think Nick is my spiritual animal. Nick, you got a lot of fans. Okay. Foxy Jane, try telling you all if we can't hit, if we don't know what they're throwing. Rookie pitcher with limited tape. Guys, we're guessing all night. I mean, there's a lot of truth to it. It's just the bottom line here is that they've got to be able to have better quality coaches to be able to help them through. She also writes in, this is why we got to stop with the iPads and teaching guys to watch for tipping, teach them how to hit off speed, and then you don't have to rely on tipping. Some great comments there from her. Charlie Midnight again. I'll bet you it's a 0, not 1 time. Stan the man, our buddy. I can't give stats, but I do want to be in the new segment at some point. I say a lot of stupid things. And that is coming up just real shortly. And Stan also wrote that he says, he writes, I love Tony Phillips, great guy. I wish we had a guy like him, back then. And Thayer, you mentioned this earlier where Stan had said that Lowe's going to save a ton of errors on the infield. He's definitely going to help that for sure. So with that being said, we are going to switch gears a little bit to one of our newest segments.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Dugout Dipshits.
All right.
I
So
love it.
we
I
got
love it.
dipshit number 1. That award goes to PK. PK's been a follower, a troller of mine for many years. Um, I don't know who gave this guy a phone, but it's like, I'd like to formally request they take it back. Every time I post something, he shows up like a fly at a cookout. He's uninviting, he's annoying,
Mm,
and he's
you're a
somehow
stalker.
convinced he's part of the conversation. If I tweet out something like the Red Sox bullpen is a dumpster fire, he replies like I just read him a bedtime story. Bro, relax. I'm not your mentor.
Mm.
He's got my tweets bookmarked like they're sacred texts or something. Probably prints them out and reads them to his mom before games like it's motivational speech. Jim said we're trash, so let's go prove him right. The man's obsessed, is so intense, I half expect him to start tagging me on his grocery list. Just picked up milk, Jim. Thought of you. This guy's got just drives me crazy, but I love you, Pat Kelly, and thanks for the $25 on my cup of coffee. Next dipshit is going to be Sox fan 04071318. when I did tweet today about Nate Eaton being the leadoff guy and how stupid this lineup was, he said, "Who do you want leading off? Sadan and his 280 on base percentage? LOL." No, that answer would be Roman Anthony, who's been your leadoff guy for probably a month now. Welcome to the 2025 Red Sox. Sox fan 0407-1318-86530. Dum dum
Duh.
dum. I got some final takes. Thayer, you're first.
I This weekend was frustrating. They needed to sweep. When you win every game except the crochet game, it puts you into a bad situation, especially with the way it went down, with your bullpen letting you down on the Saturday win, forcing you to come back with Chapman, then not throwing Chapman, even though he only threw 14 innings. And Jim, I totally agree with you. You have to bring him back because you never know what you're going to get. You're going to get a day like today. You're not going to have Chapman available. Oh well, he wasn't available today. So I I'm still think they're good enough to maintain the playoff berth. However, what we're starting to see offensively, and this is the question, what are they going to do? This is where, and it sort of gets to what Fox is saying, they have to start to become more, what would be the proper term? Um, Situational with their hitting. They have to stop trying to bomb away. They have to put runners in position to score, so they have to get guys running. Duran hasn't been running. When he gets on base, he's not moving. They have to get back to being aggressive on the base pass. They have to move runners around. They cannot rely on the 3-run home run, especially with Abreu gone, your top home run guy, he's not there. This is not our old-fashioned home run Red Sox. This is a team that has to start to be situational and make things happen, and you have to pitch. And when your bullpen comes in and gives up 4 runs and puts you way out of control, that's the problem. When you only have 3 or 4 guys that you can rely on. So I think they're still good enough. I think they'll be okay, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope for when they do make the playoffs.
Nick, your final take for this evening.
I actually want to comment on what Thayer just said, and I do not see this team changing their offensive approaches. If we would have seen it by now, and that's what scares the living daylights out of me. And we jokingly before the show were like, "What do we call these before we go on? What's the title gonna be?" And I tweeted off to, or I texted over to Jim before, and I go, "Got a great title. We should play this song during it, but we can't because it's copyrighted and it's a violation. We're not gonna get violated around here." Paul Simon, slip sliding away. That's how I feel right now. I've seen this dance too many times to get fooled again. I was fooled a few too many times, sucked right in, thought I was going to see a great winner, and got entirely disappointed. So my approach that I'm using right now is fine, go ahead, lose, keep doing it. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me you're a playoff team. Because right now, you want playoffs? What's that famous line from that coach? Forget playoffs? Playoffs?
Love it.
Not here. I don't know what your people are watching, but for those that just love positivity, you butterflies worry because we have a chance to take a split. And I'm sure you'll be so happy about that. And then when you're done with the victory, I'm sure you'll go down to the local ice cream stand and get your banana split and be all happy about it.
Last minute comments coming in. Stan the man. Our offense, more than we think. He'll give a very professional at bat tonight. He did, got the nice walks. Too bad he wasn't in the game to start with. Obviously, with the lefty out there, they didn't do it. And last thing from Stan, take out Toro, replace him with Lowe, and you get a professional at bat more every time through the lineup. I think he's right. I think that, I'm done with Toro. Thank, like Thayer said, thank you very much. You'll get a copy of a home game when you walk out the door. Um, Last thing I want to leave everybody with is this comment. This is what I want to say. Can the Red Sox change uniforms if they're down in the ninth inning? Especially,
Thayer
you
did.
know, put on the greens if you're down a run, 2, 3, or 7. I don't know. You got 5 wins in, you know, when you're down and, last at bats. So it might
So
be worth.
instead of rally caps, you want rally jerseys, huh?
Rally
Okay.
jerseys is the new thing.
Hmm.
We're going to start calling them the rally jerseys. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank.
Yeah, the clown car's about to leave, so fasten your seatbelts. Jump on in, everybody. We're going for a ride. Not gonna be pretty. Off
I'd
to
like to thank
Mr.
Thayer and the immortal Nick Face for joining me tonight. Please go ahead and subscribe to our website. It is redsoxdigest.com. That's redsoxdigest.com. It's a free subscription. You can also donate too, because it does cost a lot of money to do this stuff. But thanks anyway. That being said, we do have articles just about every day. Thayer is writing Fenway Flashback. We are going over the 1975 season, and I'm trying to convince him to do 1986 next year. So if you're a fan of that season too, we will have that, although I don't know if I want to relive Buckner or not. That being said, have a great night, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday. Until then, unless something breaking happens, I'm sure we'll fix it. Have a good night.